Today I want to go for a tumbler which would be more towards natural brown colors. Little did I know where my experimenting will lead me, but I cannot complain. Overall, I'm very happy with the final outcome, and what is the most important thing, I have learned something new again. During today's crafting, I have spent about 1 hour focusing on nothing but colors, and that's what matters the most. Give your mind a little break. Find 1 hour just for yourself. Forget for a moment about all the things you need to take care of later today or tomorrow. Give yourself a little, what I call mental wellness, spiritual cleanup, and I guarantee your day will be more beautiful and you will appreciate the colors you will see around you in your everyday life more than ever before. Because I'm hoping to light up browns and be able to see their true color today, I will be working with the white base color. If you would like to see the whole process on how to prep a tumbler, I have a dedicated video for that, and I will leave a link in the description below. I have already mixed my epoxy. As usual, I try to measure 15 milliliters when working with alcohol ink. Make sure you cover the tumbler properly, and once the epoxy is laid down, let the tumbler spin for a moment to make sure you are not getting any dry spots, aka fish eyes. Those are places where epoxy is moving away from the tumbler surface. That usually happens when the tumbler has not been cleaned properly before the epoxy application. What has happened to me the other day is that I have prepped my tumbler a day before I was working with it. On the following day, when I was placing the tumbler on the tumbler turner, I have touched the tumbler with my bare hands. My hands were oily a little bit, some of that oil got on the tumbler surface, and as the result, I got the dry spots, which did not make me happy at all. The good thing is that there is a way how to remove the old or unwanted epoxy from the tumbler. That way you don't have to throw the tumbler away, you can simply reuse it. There are multiple ways how to remove epoxy from the tumbler. I have made a video on how to use the acetone method. Speaking of epoxy, I want to give you a tip which is helping me a lot. I have 2 silicone measuring cups which I am using for epoxy mixing. After I pour the epoxy from the measuring cup on the tumbler, I will not clean the silicone cup afterwards. Liquid epoxy is very sticky and hard to clean without alcohol or acetone. I simply leave the epoxy in the silicone cup over the night, and on the next day when the epoxy is hard, I can easily peel off the hardened epoxy off the silicone surface. Very easy and simple tip. I just wish I knew it before I tried to clean the epoxy cup in the kitchen sink. Epoxy got everywhere and it took me a while to get it off. As I mentioned in the beginning, today I want to go for brown colors on a white surface. So I have selected chestnut brown, brick brown, mahogany, natural oak, chocolate, burnt orange, and melon orange. One thing to mention, I was very surprised in a good way how some brown colors were leaning towards red. I could see this especially with mahogany and natural oak colors. I can tell you while making this tumbler, I have found some favorite colors I will be definitely using more often in the future. I am giving it a moment to see how the colors will evolve on a white surface before adding any white color to it. The question was, do I even need to add white color when I have the white surface? From the mistakes I have made in the past, I am avoiding adding too much ink at once. For the first 2 minutes it looks beautiful, but then as the cup keeps spinning, the colors will start to blend and work together. As I am adding more brown on the tumbler, I'm starting to get the feeling that straight out of the bottle almost all colors look the same And they also appear darker than I was expecting, especially since we are using a white surface. I wonder if you will be even able to see the difference between 5 or so different brown colors on the tumbler. I like to apply the ink slower than you see in other tutorials. And that's because I'm trying to define rules, find out best practices I can use next time as a starting point. All tutorials I have watched so far are saying there is no schema or a preferred way how to lay out ink. But I do believe there should be some rules, and I am sure I will find some of them, but it may be a few more tumblers later. I do have a dedicated series of videos where I go and discuss the mistakes I made with my tumblers. Not every time the alcohol ink tumbler will end up as a happy little accident, and just by randomly dropping ink here and there, you will get to your desired destination. You may, depending on what your destination is, but once you have a bit higher goal, and you are aiming for a specific design you saw somewhere and you would love to replicate it at home, you will find out you will not be able to replicate it unless you follow certain rules, or your result will be something completely different. And that's what is happening to me here. The white ink color I'm adding to my tumbler is not lightening up the browns as much as I would be expecting. It could be due to the poor pigment presence in the ink, which I'm suspecting here. I already went ahead and ordered a premium alcohol ink brand, and it should arrive to my mail within the next 3 days. I cannot wait to test it out to validate my theory. Meanwhile, I want to make the best use of what I have right now and try to bring this tumbler to life, because what if the white color is not the issue? What if it is something else? What if the browns are simply behaving this way? So I have decided to brighten up the tumbler with another bright color, in this case yellow. The initial results look very promising, I have to say. I was able to light up the surface on the tumbler while some of the browns are reacting nicely and lighting up as well. Especially natural oak and its reddish color is coming to life. I will go ahead and try to fill out all empty spots. Because the colors I'm using are darker, I don't want any of the white surface to see through. Okay, I have to confess, the results so far are just way different than I was hoping for. But we are not done yet. I have decided to complement the yellow color with gold. Yes, I do have gold color as well, and I have never used it before, so let's see how it will turn out. The first impression I'm getting from the gold color is that it is much thicker, contains lots of pigment, and does not blend with other inks on the surface. Kind of floats on the top while trying to hold its pigment together. Very interesting so far. Here I am deciding to do another experiment. I am taking out a small heat gun and want to blow some hot air on the epoxy, hoping to see the colors mixing a bit better and get some interesting patterns. Again, as it usually happens when you do something for the first time, you will learn something new. So what I'm seeing now is that after I blow hot air on the epoxy surface, the epoxy becomes very runny and the gravity is pulling all paint a bit lower to the base of the tumbler. Now I want to see how it looks like when you drop a brown ink over the gold. I do like the color effect we are getting, and I'm deciding to add more brown drops. I think that adding yellow over the gold would not have the same desired effect. I would compare epoxy to honey. When it has room temperature, it has consistency like standard honey. A bit runny, but also thick at the same time. When you warm it up, it becomes runny, almost like water. And the same effect I'm observing with epoxy here. Now about 15 minutes later, I see that the gold paint is sliding slowly down as well. I am adding a bit more gold ink at the top of the tumbler. Because the gold by itself is very much in contrast with my underlying colors, I'm dropping some ink color over the gold to tone it down a bit. I do like the effect I'm getting here. Especially I like the lower half of the gold areas where I see the gold paint being pulled slowly down, causing small pigment pieces to break off, creating a group of small islands in a sea. Now epoxy is still working and will be for another hour or so, which means the design is not final yet and the color patterns will slightly change from what we see right now. I'm going to leave this tumbler spin overnight and will come back in the morning. And this is how it looks like when epoxy has hardened. We can see the gravity has pulled the colors a bit lower and has stretched the gold areas, breaking off small chunks of pigments, creating these very interesting patterns. The yellow color in some areas was not darkened too much with browns and is creating beautiful contrasty light areas. Surrounding dark browns make them nicely stand out. Let's recap today's tumbler. Is this the design I had originally in mind? No. Do I call this attempt with browns a failure? No. I did learn a lesson today, that's for sure. To start with, I believe I have added too much brown ink. Sometimes less is more, but it is so easy to get carried away when you work with alcohol ink. The second thing, which needs to be validated later, is that I believe my white color is inferior quality, and with higher pigment white color I would be able to get lighter browns as I was originally hoping for. I think I will have to make the same tumbler in the future, but with another white color to see if I am right or not. I do have to say, I had great fun working on this tumbler. I love colors. I am not good at mixing them yet, but I'm trying to work on this skill. Next time I will go to the botanic gardens, for sure, I will never look at the brown tree trunks the same way again. I will always get a flashback on this tumbler, and for a moment I will be hoping to maybe even spot gold on them. Who knows? But I promise you one thing. If I find gold on the tree trunks in the botanic gardens, I will let you know about it. Till then, keep crafting and bring more colors to your life. Thank you for watching.